introduce yourself.
My name is Carmelo Garcia, Executive Director of the Irvington Housing Authority.
All right. And I guess that's you right here, right? The nameplate says it all, right?
Yes, it is indeed.
All right. All right. And what's going on today, Mr. Garcia? Here we are in your office, right?
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, I think, to be able to kind of share what's been happening at IHA, the history that we discovered so many deficiencies and mismanagement and neglect that had conditions giving a lack of hope to the residents that were really horrible in the way that they were living. And so I wanted to share the great progress that IHA has made under the new leadership, the reformation and transformation of the organization, as well as discuss where we were, where we are, and where we're going into the next 5 years of IHA's next journey in the chapters to come.
All right, so you talk about, you mentioned chapters as literaries, books, right? You talk about turning the page, right?
Yes,
so,
sir.
I mean, we're turning the page from the old regime, and I don't want to say the bad, I'm going to say the bad old days, but, to the new regime and I guess brighter days. Yes? I mean, is that what it's about?
Yes, that's what it's about. It's really forward thinking, forward looking, the collaboration, the comprehensive planning, and really consistency in its management practices from a property maintenance perspective, from a capital improvement perspective, also from a financial solvency perspective.
Okay. And how long have you been the executive director? That's your title, executive director, yes?
That is correct. It's going now 2 years. Pretty exciting, historic times for us as far as the marshaling of change that has been catalytic for IHA, giving what when I got here I uncovered and the things that I was immediately challenged with. What we faced was technically almost bankruptcy, a position of really the residents feeling frustrated, a lot of distrust, a lot of issues that were plaguing and hemorrhaging the infrastructure and that of the organization.
All right, so we talk about mending fences, and we talking about boosting morale, we talk about all of those human things, and that's also part of the job as the executive director. I mean, that's what I heard in what you just said.
Yes, sir. It's all about economic mobility. It's about really providing the best quality of life. HUD is ultimately our partner in the governances of what we do best in providing safe, decent, sanitary, and quality housing. So it's imperative that when you have a housing authority that is undergoing such a major need in reform and transformation, you really have a solid plan that is consistent, but that also implements the best practices of leadership, management, and property maintenance operations.
All right. And so, listen, I mean, you've been here 2 years. Would you mind, I don't want to say read me your resume, but a little bit of background about you, and you got here.
Okay.
What led you to Irvington Housing Authority? How's that?
So fortunately, I've served as formerly Deputy Mayor and Director of Economic and House Development for the City of Newark. I've served as Chief Real Estate Officer and Executive Vice President of the Community Economic Development Corporation for the City of Newark. I've been in the field of public housing now for 16 years, become a specialist in economic community development along with public housing. And so as a guru in the field, I was recruited to come here and salvage this housing authority that was not only troubled, but as I noted, nearly actually bankrupt, and really had its major hindrances in the direction where it was going, where HUD was looking at taking it over, and basically the residents were in an uproar, the employees were, the morale was shot, and there was an ineffectiveness and lack of productivity that was happening. You had so many shenanigans and things that were going on here that were really ill will in how the residents should have been treated better, and of course should have received their quality housing along with their quality of life being the best that it could be.
Would you say that was systemic stuff or endemic stuff? We hear the word systemic and endemic. I mean, which would you say the challenges you saw when coming in? I mean, was it just, I would say poor leadership, bad leadership, mismanagement, or, and is that the solution, good management?
I think it's a combination of both. I think it's what you had was systemic and endemic, right? Endemic is more in tune with the leadership relative to the direction that the organization is going. I call it the GPS. What are your goals, your purpose, and your story, right? That's just really what it boils down to. For me, I grew up in public housing. I've had a long history, former executive director of also the Hoboken Housing Authority. I believe in what families should be receiving, like any other family, in workforce housing, low moderate income housing, market rate housing. I do embody what it is, the empowerment of public housing to allow you to graduate to better housing, because it was never meant to be generational housing. The whole purpose of it is to give you a leg up and a hand up, and really that's what I focus on, is how do we give the families a better quality of life. Our senior citizens and our children are our most precious resources, and it's very critical for me to, not only from a public safety standpoint, but from a programming, maintenance, operations standpoint, and security, to make sure that they can feel safe in their environment, but also that the culture is one that is not like traditional, where it was ghettoized, or it allows for and breeds for a contentment or a satisfaction of what is the regular cycle, on how we are concentrated in its poverty. And I do believe that that is a problem of the systemic sort of overall picture, and that's why it's encouraging when we speak about the changes that HUD is looking at when we talk about RAD, the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, the Demo Dispo Section 18 process, because you have archaic, obsolete developments, housing structures that really you're pouring good money into Band-Aid solutions, and that's problematic. So for me, when I come into any agency, I look at the leadership, I look at the management, I look at the operations, and I start to dissect it, get to its core, understanding the anatomy and what is healthy, what is routine in our habits to be high performers, and to make sure that the performance is there with accountability. So we have been truly implementing many new systems and re-engineering processes that were ineffective, practices that didn't have any internal controls, but more importantly, gave everyone a transparent process that if this is adhered to, then this becomes your outcome, and everything is transparent. And at the end of the day, we have a respect factor. Everyone respects each other on what is the process, and we educate everyone on that process. And just holding everybody accountable. There was a lack of accountability, and I think that we had to do change management, which required